Namo Amida Butsu, A Miraculous Cure by Gansen John Welch. We are so sick and diseased in samsara, due to our evil karma, that we are totally incapable and utterly unable to find a permanent cure for the mental and physical suffering that we endure, as unenlightened beings who are blind to reality and deaf to the only truth that can free us forever from the heavy burden that we bear. But why in our terror and fear do we not strongly dare to hope for a doctor that can dispense the all-healing medicine that, if we have sufficient sense, we would willingly and eagerly take, because we know that it will make us enlightened, and thus no longer enslaved by negative karma. We become stronger and are able to help other suffering sentient beings who are also searching desperately for a miracle cure that is completely effective and pure. Thanks entirely to the primal vow of Amida, we can all have access to this greatest of all Buddhas and his unsurpassable remedy that is priceless but free. If we will read or listen to true Amida Dharma while living in samsara, and by becoming open to Amida's grace, we will receive his precious gift of faith, and all trace of self-power reliance will cease, and we will come to know some peace, because we know that Amida's infinite merit will save us from the dark night, due solely to Amida's inconceivable wisdom and compassion, that will rescue us from our ignorance, folly, and blind passions. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Amida Buddha. Homage to Amida Buddha. I take refuge in Amida Buddha. The above verses were inspired by the following passages from pages 169 to 175 of the excellent book by Reverend Josho, Adrian, Cirlea, The Meaning of Faith and Nembutsu in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. The 10 benefits in this life of faith in Amida Buddha. Benefit 2. The benefit of being possessed of supreme virtues. This means that by entrusting ourselves to Amida Buddha's primal vow, we receive his merits and virtues, which cause us to attain birth in the Pure Land. Quote, when sentient beings of this evil world of the 5 defilements entrust themselves to the selected primal vow, virtues indescribable, inexplicable, and inconceivable fill those practitioners. All beings having heard Amida's virtuous name attain joyful faith, rejoice in what they hear, and call his name even once. The person of sincerity, Amida endows merit to them. All who inspire for birth in the Pure Land attain birth there. Hence, I prostrate myself to worship him and aspire to be born there. End quote. Shinran Shonen explained in his work passages on the 2 aspects of the Tathagata's directing of virtue. Quote, concerning the directing of virtue through the power of the primal vow, the Tathagata's directing of virtue has 2 aspects. The directing of virtue in the aspect of our going forth to the Pure Land, and the directing of virtue in the aspect of our return to this world. End quote. The directing of virtue in the aspect for our going forth means that by receiving shinjin during this present life, we are made to be born in the Pure Land, where we immediately become Buddhas. The directing of virtue for our return to this world means that as soon as we become Buddhas in the Pure Land, we return to this world in various forms to help all beings. Both these aspects are the transference of merit from Amida Buddha to us, which we receive in the form of shinjin, that is faith or the entrusting heart, and nembutsu, the saying of the name. In fact, every one of the benefits presented in this chapter are the manifestation of Amida's transference of his store of karmic merit to us. They are all the gifts of Amida. Here is a question about the merit transference from Amida Buddha and my answer. Question. When I first experienced gratitude and said the Nembutsu, Paul Roberts wrote and said, He, that is Amida, not only knows your name, but he has given to you his own store of infinite karmic merit. Does that karmic merit only apply to what happens after this life? Answer. In the moment you receive shinjin or faith, as Paul Roberts said, you also receive Amida Buddha's store of infinite karmic merits. This means that you have entered the stage of non-retrogression in this life. See the 10th benefit. And you become assured of birth in the Pure Land, exactly as you are. In this way, Amida's karmic merit applies in this life, but this doesn't mean that you are free of any suffering while still alive. You cannot always experience happiness in this world because your mind still remains unenlightened until you die and you are actually born in the Pure Land. You ask questions like, why are you not happy here and now since you have shinjin? But the answer is that you are not happy because you are not Buddha yet. An unenlightened mind cannot be happy, no matter what it has and what kind of pleasant circumstances it encounters. On the contrary, you can experience bliss and lack of suffering when you are born in the Pure Land, because then you become enlightened. Only an enlightened mind can be truly happy. That is why Amida's Pure Land is called the land of peace and bliss. Jodo Shinshu is not a path of becoming a Buddha in this life, so you cannot become perfectly happy here. Only a Buddha can be perfectly happy in this world, because his mind is a Buddha mind, an enlightened mind, awakened and free. Anywhere he goes, he is free and happy. However, with Shinjin, your unenlightened mind is assured of birth in the Pure Land. This is the meaning of this second benefit. Benefit 3. The benefit of our karmic evil being transformed into good. Due to the influence of Amida, we can transform an unpleasant experience into an opportunity to understand life as it is and the Dharma. It does not mean that we will no longer have problems or experience lack of material things, etc., but that we can understand these unfortunate events as being the effects of our karma, using them to become more aware that this is samsara, the world of suffering, from which we must escape once and for all through birth in the Pure Land. Bad events in our lives can thus be transformed through the light of the Dharma into useful ones, useful for our understanding. Also, this benefit refers to the fact that in the instant we receive shinjin or faith, our karma is cut or sterilized and cannot plant its seed into another life. When shinjin enters our heart, we receive the pure karmic energy of Amida Buddha. Our evil is turned into good in the sense that it is no longer an obstacle for our birth in the Pure Land at the end of this life. Quote, however great your karmic evil may be, it is destroyed by the power of faith. This implies that the delusory karma, which caused you to transmigrate in the 6 realms since the beginningless past, is annulled by the wonderful vow power originating from the Buddha's wisdom. When we say Namo Amida Butsu, the karmic evil of our transmigration in birth and death disappears. Though we commit evil throughout our lives, if we say the Nembutsu always with our hearts turned wholly to Amida, our obstructions fall away by the vow's spontaneous working. The power of the vow is without limit. Thus, even our karmic evil, deep and heavy, is not oppressive. The Buddha's wisdom is without bounds. Thus, even those of distracted minds and self-indulgence are not abandoned. Although the sun and moon may be covered by clouds and mists, the darkness is dispelled, and beneath the clouds and mists it is light. Know that in the same way, although Shinjin is overcast by clouds and mists of greed, desire, anger, and hatred, they form no obstruction to birth in the Pure Land. End quote. No matter what we did in the past or will do in the future, due to our illusions and attachments, our evil becomes as good as non-existent once we receive faith and say the Nembutsu of faith. Being an ordinary person of great karmic evil brings us to the special attention of Amida's compassion. Quote, Amida guides sentient beings who are filled with blind passions and karmic evil. Concerning the people who say the Nembutsu, it is splendid that they entrust themselves to Amida's vow, realizing it is for the sake of those possessed of blind passions. End quote. Namo Amida Butsu.